What's going on, Guardians? It's Tizzle here. This is the first video in a 3-part series showing how to easily solo flawless the 3 dungeons in Destiny 2. We're kicking it off with the first dungeon to come along in Destiny 2, the Dreaming City's very own Shattered Throne. The build I will be using in the opening encounter is a Warmind Cell build on Top Tree Nova Bomb with Controverse Hold. If you would like a full breakdown of that build, I have made a video covering it and how it all works. If you are interested in that, go ahead and click the link on screen. But if not, I will give you a quick explanation. I have on a Solar Warmind Cell build with Rage of the Warmind, Wrath of Rasputin, and Global Reach, so that my Warmind cells can chain Warmind cells when I explode them. I also have on Warmind's Decree so that Void kills can create Warmind cells. This means my grenades and Nova Bombs will make Warmind cells. This comes in very handy in the opening encounter because there are a lot of trash adds. For weapons, I have an Ikelos SMG for another way to spawn Warmind cells, a Succession sniper rifle for taking out hobgoblins and dangerous enemies at a distance, and of course, Anarchy. Anarchy is an absolutely top tier exotic, and the seasonal artifact mod Breach and Clear has made it better than ever. Basically, Anarchy can now debuff champions and bosses, as if it wasn't strong enough already. This was kind of the reason I wanted to make these videos. Because of the mod Breach and Clear, I truly believe that soloing the dungeons this season has never been easier. Having a weapon that is able to proc debuffs on demand is insanely strong. Another great weapon to run if you don't have Anarchy would be Witherhoard. And if you don't have either, then try to find yourself a good legendary grenade launcher to use. Truth Tellers drop all the time, and ignition codes can be farmed this season from the Recaster or from override events. I cannot stress enough how good the mod Breach and Clear makes GLs, and how effective they are in PvE because of it. So now with that out of the way, let us go over the first encounter. I am assuming that if you are trying to solo flawless any dungeon, you have probably beaten it with a fire team a few times first. So I am not going to go into mechanics too heavily in any of these videos, as I am expecting that you understand what to do. Instead, I will be giving tips and tricks for each encounter, as well as loadout suggestions so that you can clear this dungeon in the easiest way possible. I am not a top tier player by any means. I soloed all the dungeons on PS4 on my Hunter. I used very clever loadouts and crouched on invisibility a lot to beat every single dungeon. I certainly did not do it on skill alone, and if you watch this whole video, I bet you will agree that my loadout choices are pretty sound. I am not Esoteric who is able to solo anything with meme weapons just because he's so skilled. No, I rely on my brain to come up with strategies that will make the clear as easy as it can be. These videos are meant for average gamers like myself who just want to challenge themselves and get a cool emblem along the way. One thing I should mention, and that I didn't do on this run, is that you should rally a flag before starting the dungeon, and you will spawn in with full ammo. I didn't do that here, and as a result I only had 6 Anarchies to start. I would strongly recommend Ammo Finder and Scavenger mods, as they help out a ton, especially since Taken Armaments doesn't exist anymore. So with all that out of the way, my only real piece of advice for the opening encounter is to find a map off the internet for all the symbols so that you know where you are going. And then to just take your time and play your life while clearing every plate. Again, this video is not a speedrun. Slow and steady wins the race in this. It is okay to go slow. The main thing is that you play carefully and protect your life at all costs. After all that matters is finishing this solo flawless. And in the case of Shattered Throne, if all you are going for is the emblem, then you just have to beat it solo. The other dungeons require solo flawless for the emblem, but for some reason, this one only needs to be solo. Anyways, I will let the gameplay play out from here and see you after the chest. After you get the chest, you have a couple of rooms of ads to deal with. I swapped to Death Adder first because I know I need a solar weapon to deal with a taken captain. I also pull out an energy bow because the room after this area has knights, phalanxes, and hobgoblins that you can take out from a distance. Again, safety is key. It is not the quickest way to get through that part. You could just swap to Top Tree Dawn and sword skate across with Lament and Icarus Dash and a Dawnblade Super if you wanted, but I am trying to show you how to do this in the safest way possible. And for a couple suggestions on how to be safe, always beware of the phalanx around this corner. Take him out as soon as possible, as he could boop you to your death. Right after this, I get extremely unlucky with this Minotaur jumping down. I've never seen that before, and it almost kills me as a result. These things can happen. Ideally, I would have taken it out from the ground, but I couldn't get an angle earlier. That's very frustrating, but it happens. Luckily, I survive and eventually move on to the next room. Another thing to note is, don't always pick up your ammo. You can leave bricks on the ground and come back for them later, as I do here. It is smart to know how many shots you can hold in all your weapons, and how much ammo you receive from each brick pickup. Shattered Throne unfortunately still doesn't have rally flags, so sometimes you can be at the mercy of RNG, which really sucks. So it is best to make the most out of every brick of ammo you get. Another tip, if you have it, run Taken Spec on all your weapons. I believe it is a 10% buff to Taken enemies, where Minor, Major, and Boss Spec are all 7.5% buffs. And it applies to every type of enemy in here. If you don't have it and want it before you make an attempt of soloing this dungeon, then you can get it randomly from Last Wish secret chests. And you can easily pick up 6 chests a week, 2 on each character. There are many videos out there showing you how to do that if you need a guide. As mentioned earlier, all you want to do on this next room is slowly take out every enemy before moving forward. It is better to take an hour on one solo flawless clear by playing carefully than to try and burn through it and end up dying in a silly way and having to start over, thus wasting your last 15 minutes or so of progress. Once you have every enemy cleared, head into the next room. Here, ogres spawn once you get close enough. So run up and spawn them in, and then run back and take them out. Do not try and advance until they are dead. They have an eye blast that will knock you off the edge in a hurry. And being on a warlock, if this happens, you're totally screwed. Take these jumps very carefully. Personally, I prefer strafe glide because I like the extra control it gives, and I am used to it. So go with what you are comfortable with, and be careful running along the pillars. Once you take out all the ogres, you just have to jump across and you're off to the next room. The next room is the infamous Thrallway, an AFK farmer's dream. This is where my clever builds really come into play. In this room you are slowed and health regen does not work. However, warlocks have healing rifts, but even better, they have the Devour tree. When Devour is active, a kill will refill all your health. Pretty cool, right? But it gets better. I also equipped the exotic gloves and necrotic grips. These gloves will poison an enemy if you melee them. They will also spread that corruption to any nearby enemies. Well, this area has a ton of nearby enemies, so basically just consume a grenade to activate Devour, whack a Thrall, and you will keep regenning your health every time one dies. It makes this area total easy mode. You can then just safely walk through this whole part. Once you are out of here, you fight a bunch of phalanxes, which is pretty straightforward, and then you are on to what I think is the toughest encounter in this dungeon, the Ogre fight. The first time I soloed this fight, it took me quite a while. This encounter can be extremely difficult as you have wizards floating around shooting at you, and you have to hide from the ogre's eye blast. On top of that, you cannot outright kill the wizards because if you do, you will only have 45 seconds to kill the next one or you will wipe. I swapped to Ophidian Aspects here for the quick reload and weapon handling. And I used Devour Tree once again for its great survivability. You can consume a grenade to refresh your health if you are in a jam. I also ran Protective Light for that extra bit of survivability. In this run, I made some mistakes unfortunately, but I think if you breach and clear the boss and throw a Nova Bomb, then you should be able to deal enough damage to get a 1 phase if you get a clean damage phase. Sadly, I panic popped my super because I didn't think I would kill the final wizard in time. These things happen. It's okay. A second damage phase is far better than a wipe. You don't want to lose the progress you already made. My basic strategy here is to take out as many adds as possible and chip the wizard's health down so that you can easily take them out when the time comes. Sadly, early on I ran out of scout rifle ammo, but again, those things happen. I also swapped to anti-barrier scout midway through and it almost cost me my life. Anti-barrier is great here to shoot through the vandal's bubbles, but do yourself a favor and equip it before you start the fight. Here, I get pretty screwed because I am getting eye blasted by the ogre, so I think, okay, I will get to cover and then pick up the orb. But when I go back to pick up the orb, it is already despawned. I totally forgot that they did this, and this is the reason why I had to burn my Nova Bomb early. I'm kind of glad it happened, as it is a good thing to have in a tutorial video of what not to do. So if you take out a wizard, make sure you pick up that orb right away, otherwise you will have to kill a whole nother wave of ads, which is pretty damn annoying. Also, wizards are just the freaking worst to try and hit with Anarchy. My shots barely missed, and it was just a whole series of unfortunate events. That is what makes these things a challenge. You have to be totally on point. The sad part is, I didn't even need to waste my Nova Bomb here, as the wizard does die right before I cast it. But if you don't get that orb before the timer runs out, you wipe. As I said, it was just a massive series of unfortunate events, so just try to not do what I did. During damage phase, you really want to prioritize the orbs he shoots at you, as they will kill you. That is why Anarchy is so nice. Not only does it debuff the boss from breach and clear, but it also does damage over time to allow you to focus on the orbs. And as you can see, I don't have the best damage phase, and I still get the boss's health down pretty far, well over half. A Well of Radiance Warlock may also be really good here. You have healing grenades for survivability, and when it comes to damage phase, you don't really have to worry about the orbs as much, and you will have a high damage buff from the well. So if you don't want to run Devour, then I would highly recommend Well of Radiance. I just thought the Void Grenades may come in handy on the wizards, and that the Nova Bomb would be good for a big chunk of damage at the start of the boss fight with the Anarchy debuff. Unfortunately, I never got to use it. But if you're on Warlock, you certainly have a couple good options for this fight. My next boss phase is much cleaner, and I get to use the Nova Bomb to finish it in style. After the encounter is over, I swap back to my top tree Warmind Cell build, as it is very good for the ads in the boss room. I would recommend running whatever loadout you will run on boss from here. Again, there are no rally flags, so you can use the ascent to the boss room to stock up on ammo. And this build is great for boss room. Anarchy and a Nova Bomb can make quick work of the Knights, and Warmind's Decree can spawn a Warmind Cell to take out the dozens of taken Scions. From there, you just have to hit the wizard with Anarchy shots and lay into her with your sniper, as you will see. I know I sound like a broken record at this point, but my only advice for the ascent is to just take it slow and steady and play your life. You are on the home stretch now, with one real final test before the boss room. The final test I mentioned earlier is right here, the boop wall. I would suggest sniping the hobgoblins first if you can get an angle on them, and then you just have to time your run. I wait and watch the sequence a couple times just to be sure, but I usually take off running just less than a second after the first boop fires. I have heard there is a skip somewhere around here too, but I have never done it. After this, you just take the elevators to the top. I swapped to arc damage resist as the wizard boss's shots can really hurt. Again, we are playing safe here. We're almost there. For the boss room, I stick the knights with 2 shots of anarchy each, and then throw a Nova Bomb. This kills the first 2 knights because they had anarchy on them longer, but it leaves the last knight 1 shot. Sadly, I do not notice, and die in the saddest way possible. Now, you're probably thinking, nice tutorial, Tizzle, you didn't even solo flawless it. Well, I have in the past, and I think this is a great learning opportunity for the viewer. If you use my same strategy, then here's what you want to do. Shoot 2 anarchies into each knight as I did, but then throw a charge up grenade to the right side. This will get some more damage in on that knight. Then throw your Nova Bomb and take them all out. You have a bit of time to pick up the orbs, so make sure all 3 are on the ground, unlike me. From there, you just have to take out all the adds with your Warmind cell. Do this first. The adds will multiply, so you want to make sure they're all dead before focusing the boss. DPS really isn't an issue here, as this boss is pretty weak. In the background gameplay, I put on a bunch of high intellect armor to get my super more quickly, because, again, no rally flags. Thanks, Bungie. I will speed this part up, as you probably don't care about watching my super bar fill. Once again, another good option would be Well of Radiance, but you are stationary and the knight's axes would probably kill you through the well if they are able to survive your anarchy and sniper shots. But you do you. Once I have my super, I rinse and repeat, but I do it the right way this time. On my second attempt, rather than throwing a grenade on the right knight, I just let the anarchies tick a little longer this time before throwing my Nova Bomb, and it is enough to take out all 3 knights. But honestly, just throw the grenade and be extra safe. Once you are ready to deal damage, you can see how strong this combo is. You have 45 seconds for DPS, and I kill her in 17 seconds. So again, just play safe, as the toughest part is getting to damage phase. And that is it. With the power of Anarchy and Breach and Clear, we were able to easily solo this dungeon. My run was 53 minutes and 44 seconds, and that was with a scuffed ogre fight and waiting 4 minutes for a super to regenerate. So even if you run very slowly and carefully, you can easily get that clean black emblem in under an hour. And that's it for the video. I hope you found this helpful and or entertaining in some way. And if you did, then a like would be greatly appreciated. I will have a guide for Pit of Heresy out tomorrow and Prophecy the next day. Those videos will have a very similar structure to this one. I will give loadout suggestions and tips and tricks and lots of examples of what not to do. So if you're interested in that, feel free to subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss it. I really hope this guide helps someone out there solo this dungeon for the first time. And if this video helped you do it, please let me know down in the comments. It means a lot to me when I read that my video helped someone out. That is what I do this for. I started a channel as a way to get my builds out there to help out other Guardians. I love build crafting and sharing those builds with as many people as I can. But that's all from me. Thank you so much if you made it this far, it means a ton. Take care, Guardians.